Times Radio Early Breakfast.
Well, joining me now to have a further look at today's papers is barrister, broadcaster and futurist Andrew Eborn. Good morning, Andrew. Happy New Year.
Good morning, James. It's an absolute delight to join you and your brilliant audience, and a very, very happy New Year to you all.
Let's start with the junior doctor strike. It is the big story of the day.
Yes.
It gets underway at 7 a.m. this morning. Do you have sympathy for the junior doctors?
I have tremendous sympathy. I have sympathy for both sides. What I love about your programme is that you provide more light and less heat on the issues. And rather interesting, it is Christmas, and I thought I was looking at A Christmas Carol, Ebenezer Scrooge, Charles Dickens. You might remember he paid his clerk, Bob Cratchit, 15 shillings a week. 15 shillings a week is what he paid him in 1843. Do you know how much that's worth today?
Oh, I've got no idea, Andrew.
I'll tell you what it's worth today. It's worth about the same as they're paying a junior doctor, which is 32,397. So what I love about this, we can put things into perspective. It is a pitiful amount of money for what the doctors have had. And they've been looking at this and saying, look, hang about. We, in real terms, basically want to get our doctors back to junior doctors to the 2008 levels, which it calculates to be equivalent about a 5% rise. So you're looking at that sort of side. And the trouble is these stories are then put in juxtaposition with how much the heads of, they call basically the fat cats of the trusts are pocketing £300,000 a year while patients suffer at the hands of the longest strikes in health service history. And these sort of two stories sit together, and I think we need to look at that in perspective. But I'd actually also need to basically point out that there are essential services where I think when you put this to the other side of the story, people losing appointments and stuff like that, it is horrendous. And the Times very brilliantly has talked about the number of appointments which we cancelled because of strikes by junior doctors. It's expected to top 1 million this week due to this unprecedented 6-day walkout. And there are about more than 200,000 cancellations are likely. The issue is this: it's not just about money, but it's also about efficiencies. And as you know, I talk around the world about embracing technology, about artificial intelligence and so on and so forth, and how that can speed up a lot of these inefficient systems at the moment. And there was a brilliant research done in the University of California, San Diego, which basically said that ChatGPT was more empathetic than chatting to your GP because it's got more empathy, it's got more times and so on and so forth. So I suggest we need to look at all of this in parallel, but basically look at those figures. Bob Cratchit, how appallingly he was paid. Well, that's the same as a junior doctor, but let's look at embracing technology to find the solution as well.
Yeah, morning to Danny, who sent a message on Twitter saying, corrupt self-serving ministers or doctors? Of course the doctors have my 100% support. If you want to have your say this morning, you can tweet like Danny at Times Radio or text 87222. Start your message, please, with the word Times. You mention ChatGPT there, Andrew. Obviously, AI is very big at the moment. You wanted to mention a story in the Times today about copyright being the new battleground for AI.
Absolutely, and quite right. As I predicted, artificial intelligence is front and centre. It was the word, Collins Dictionary Word of the Year 2023, although it's 2 words. If you combine that with the 2017 Words of the Year, which are fake news, then we have an extraordinary system. What this basically is in order to feed these glorious systems, you need to basically get existing works. And over the weekend, Meta, new word for Facebook, the chief AI scientist, he managed to wind up writers around the world. His name was Yan Lee Kun, and he said only a small number of books authors make significant money from book sales, which is certainly true. This seems to suggest that most books should be freely available for download. Now, obviously, this is a hot topic. As the creator of an artistic work, you basically have the rights to control how that work is used. Now, in order to feed all these things like ChatGPT and Meta AI, they need high quality and reliable data in order to function properly and to produce high quality results. It's the old saying about rubbish in, rubbish comes out. But in order to do that, they've been scraping the internet for all of these copyright works. And you might recall at the end of last year, the New York Times launched a lawsuit against OpenAI, the maker of ChatGPT, and Microsoft, its key backer. And they're basically saying they've used a lot of articles without permission or payment. So this is a big, big issue that needs to be sort of resolved. And that's going to happen. And in 2024, you've got all sorts of things coming about as well. And basically, we need to look at this sort of issue, understand the capabilities, but come up with some sort of sensible way of ensuring that copyright owners are paid a fair compensation. I'll give an example. For example, in Britain, there's a big case looming, Stability AI and Getty Images. There's a big fight between them over photos which have used to power the technology company's Stable Diffusion image generator. And basically the UK be looking at that as well. It's a hot topic. It's going to get much hotter this year, and lots of intellectual property cases are going to help decide it.
Now, front page of the Daily Mirror this morning, Andrew, as I just mentioned, relating to the Post Office Horizon scandal, which is, I mean, just unbelievable. They call it one of, if not the greatest miscarriage of justice in British history. And obviously at the moment it's in the news because there's this new ITV drama, Mr. Bates versus the Post Office, starring Toby Jones, which is absolutely brilliant. Began on New Year's Day. I started watching it yesterday. There's 4 episodes. You can stream them all on ITVX, and I did the lot yesterday. I found it that gripping. But even though it's brilliant television, oh my word, it'll get you hot under the collar. It makes you so outraged as to what these poor people have had to go through. Have you been watching it?
It is absolutely scandalous. I mean, the BBC called the convictions the UK's most widespread miscarriage of justice. And seeing these horrendous poor post office people basically subjected to years of torment, and it's been allegations of theft and false accounting and fraud and so on and so forth. And it's all to do with this computer system, which was developed by ICL and rebranded under the name of its Japanese owner, Fujitsu. And basically what happened, this particular software, Horizon, was used by at least 11,500 branches and was processing some 6 million transactions every day. Now, what happened, there were from 1999, some post office masters began reporting unexplained discrepancies and losses. And the post office basically accused all of these sub-post office masters of fraud and so on and so forth, even though it was a computer error. And it's very interesting because at the time, Alan Crozier was CEO of Royal Mail from 2003 to 2010. He was, to his credit, CEO of ITV, who had brought out this brilliant drama, and he was there from 2010 to 2017. It is absolutely right to call this out. It's absolutely right. We need to accelerate compensation payments. And also, I always say that history repeats itself because we don't learn the lessons from history. Well, boy, do we need to learn the lessons here. We need to question everything, and it is an absolute scandal that needs to be addressed.
I'm just wondering, Andrew, from your experience as a barrister, I mean, there are still people waiting for their convictions to be quashed. Is there a way of doing some kind of group quashing of their convictions?
Well, they're looking at all of this, and I basically that many have been overturned on the grounds that the prosecutions were so weakly grounded as to be an affront to the public conscience, is what they've said. And I think by 2022, there were 736 prosecutions have been identified, and 83 convictions have been overturned, and more expected to be quashed. We need to push this forward. I think the more that platforms such as yours, the brilliant Times Radio, can call it out, the better. But the pressure should be on. Let's address this now.
Just finally, Andrew, have you suddenly become obsessed with darts like the rest of the country?
Oh, I think the whole world has become obsessed with darts. As a futurist, I predict that I had a 100% record of predicting the future. I predict this is our sports personality of the year. Luke Littler, what a wonderful character, 16. He's raced into tonight's World Family Final. And what I love about it, you've got pictures of him in his nappies playing darts all across the world. It's a real inspiration. He doesn't look like a sports star, does he? He turned around sports station.
Well, with the greatest one in the world, not many darts players do.
I think that's absolutely right. But he talks about his Donna Kebab, that's the name of his girlfriend, I'm sure. But he loves that sort of stuff. And it's an absolute thrill. The youngster picked up his first dart at 18 months after his father bought him a magnetic darts board from a pound shop in Warrington. He will be, I predict, the earliest prediction of the year, he will be BBC Personality of the Year. And great accolade to him. I love it.
Andrew, always appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Lovely to join you. Take care, James.
Andrew Eborn there, barrister, broadcaster and futurist. Just on the Sports Personality of the Year thing, I had the same thought. And I also thought, hang on, if he does win tonight, has he essentially secured Sports Personality of the Year for 2024? 3 days into 2024. Is that the earliest it's ever been nailed on? But then I thought, hang on a minute, it is an Olympic year. We normally get, and fingers crossed, some new Olympic heroes. They'll be in the running. And then also, what if England did really well in the Euros this summer? Could Harry Kane or Jude Bellingham end up beating Luke Littler to Sports Personality of the Year? We shall see.
Across the UK, on DAB, online and on your smart speaker. This is Times Radio.